this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts with a nice and hopefully quick fun fold today. I need a last minute wedding card, mainly because I forgot it's the wedding, well, today. I hope the recipients don't watch this and see that I'd forgotten about this. So, and when I thought about what to create, and I'm thinking I'm using maybe my hard dies, I remembered well, it's more like a gatefold closure I saw the other day, and I thought I'd like to recreate this, and I think it's a really nice card to make and very versatile to be altered. My final card will be 5 3/4 square. So I have cut 2 pieces here. I've picked some pearlescent cardstock, and these pieces are 11.5 inches in width and 5 3/4 in height. If you don't have 2 pieces of that length, there is a way of just adding a little flap, but I like the back piece to be the same size because I think it gives a neater look. So, and I already started scoring this when I remembered to put the camera on. You need to put score lines at 2 7/8. That is the score line before 3 inches. And then another one at 5 3/4. So, and I'm doing the same on the other piece. So, 2 7/8. And 5 3/4. So I'm putting the scoreboard away and I'll show you how we fold these. So the 2 7/8 score line is a mountain fold, and the other one is a valley fold. You can obviously use patterned cardstock for this. I'm not quite sure yet how I will decorate this. I will keep it simple. So this one again, that's the valley, that's the mountain. So, and the idea is if I glue this square onto this square, that we have a gatefold here. And the important thing for this is, I'm just trying to adjust a little bit, that we actually do have a teeny tiny gap in the middle. Mine's actually got a bigger gap. I think it's the thing with the scoreboards. I've mentioned that before. Some scoreboards score differently, but I think that's fine. If you find this gap is too big for you, you could cut a slither off here and push it a little bit further in, but I will actually leave it like that. On the back, it hardly even shows. So I'm going to use my die just as a template. If you don't have a die, you don't need a die, you could just draw a hard, just draw it on one side like this. Draw one that you like that maybe. Well, I'm doing it a bit too quick now, but any shape you like, and when you're happy with it, you just cut it out like that, and then you've got a symmetrical heart. We don't need all these fancy gadgets, but I will be using these now just because for time. So I'm placing this here on the middle. I might even be better off gluing it down first. I'll probably make my life more difficult now. So, and what I want to do is use the outer line here now to draw the heart shape on this. Oh, slipped there. Never mind. So, and I want to cut the bits away on the outside, but just obviously on this top panel. So where I've got the score line here, I will have to cut on the score line, but I want this heart-shaped look on the outside. And I will just do that with my scissors. There is a fancy way of doing some partial die cutting. I wouldn't even bother here. Just use your scissors. Make sure that you cut the score lines away as well. I thought I had done it, but when I turn it over, I could see that I still had the score line here. I think again it gives a neater look if you've managed to snip those away. I think I will quickly take my time off camera to do that. And also off camera, I will stick these two panels together, and I will also cut, because this is pearlescent cardstock, I will cut a smaller panel that is, I'll probably just do a 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, maybe only 5 by 5 for my sentiment on the inside. So where I cut the score line away, I don't know if it shows, it is a little bit wonky on the top and the bottom, but I'm not fretting about this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my corner rounder and folding this over so I can grab this, and I'm actually cutting the corner off here. Sometimes I'm unlucky with that, it doesn't cut properly, but I'm hoping it will here. Obviously, because it's not a proper right angle now, it might mess it up a little bit, but I try not to fret about when I'm making cards. If it's wonky, it's because it's homemade. Yeah, no, I'm happy with that now. So it gives them a bit more of a neater look and a finish. So off camera, I have just gone ahead and I have cut some smaller hearts. Again, you don't need a die cut, or you don't need a heart shape, you can use any shape. And I've cut 4 pieces. One is just a plain white one, which will go on the back. I have cut, this is really just a scrap, I used that for something else before, of patterned paper. It's got some glitter on it. I thought this went really nicely. This is for the front. And then I've cut some from slightly lighter cardstock. I'm not even sure whether I have mixed those up now. So I think this is 300 and this is 250 GSM. So I've cut 2 hearts for the closure mechanism, and I need to score these in the middle. So I've got my scoreboard here, and it's easy with a heart shape because you just need to align this dip here and the point at the bottom on a line on your scoreboard. I actually have marked mine here, which makes it so much easier, and I'm just going to score this here. Same with the other one. And then I'm going to fold and burnish these. I can now glue these onto the back panel. I will just cut this here a little bit neater. I always show you these things, so we are allowed to cheat a little bit. So opening to the left hand side and putting glue on here, and I'm matching it up on this heart below, and then I'm doing the same with this one on the other side. Again, you don't have to do the bottom bits in the same shape, so I could have just the heart on the top and then have this as, you know, round shapes, square shapes. You don't have to do this, but I think it's nice when the recipients take this off if it is the same shape as on the top. So, and then I'm putting glue on here and place the top on. And this gives us a sliding piece that's, once it has dried, can be put onto the front of the card to hold it shut. That's the idea anyway, and I don't think I've ever made this before. I've made a pop-up piece similar to this before in the Fancy Fold Challenge, but I can't quite remember what that looked like. But I don't think I've ever made this before, so this is what it looks like. I'm leaving that to dry for a moment, and in the meantime I will decorate this card a little bit. I cut a few hearts from the pattern paper. I've also cut the couple's initials. Bear in mind though, when this sits on the front, this will obviously mostly be hidden, so have a think about where you want to put decorations. I don't want to put too much on here, but I think I want to put something behind this heart to basically make this heart shape pop. So if I had more of this cardstock, that would look nice, but I have to find for something different just to cover these panels. So I will probably put the initials and the other hearts on the inside. I ended up only putting the letters here and the little heart here. Reason being is I was thinking if I slide the closure on here, I don't want anything to catch on the inside. And on the outside here, I just put some, these again are like glitter polka dots. I think they're actually from the same paper pad. Again, had those for years. I'm always happy at the moment to use up my old stash. So the idea is now that you use this piece and you slide it. So I'm opening this up a little bit. You slide it over the gatefold. So well, actually, see if I can do it from the bottom. So placing this on here and here, and then this should go on here if I've done it correctly. Try to get the center. As always, as you can see, I'm winging it. I'm trying a different approach now. So I have cut my heart again, and I've also backed it up with some cardstock just to have a sturdy piece here. And now I have cut 2 pieces from fairly flexible cardstock, and then another one for the back, which is my 300 GSM. And rather than just having one score line, I'm going to put one, if this is the middle, one on the left hand side of this and one on the right hand side. There isn't a hole like 1/8 of an inch between those. Might not even be the middle, but I'm not fussed about that at the moment. If you wanted to, you could make yourself a template and not eyeball it like I just have. As long as both lines are straight. Can you see? So I have got a bit of room there to allow for the thickness of my cardstock, and I hope that this helps with the mechanism. So when you've got 2 score lines that close to each other, it's always a bit tricky to burnish and fold these. But that's why I went for the thinner cardstock as well. So you have to pinch it a little bit. You could even, sorry about the noise, place a ruler on the inside and try to line it up against that, then pinch it and then burnish it. So it's not perfect, but it'll do, hopefully. So, and sometimes it's little, oops, my phone stopped recording because I actually had too much footage on it. So I've deleted some, I've got a few more minutes. So what I did, and that didn't record, is I glued those 2 pieces here onto the heavier weight piece, and I actually used my ruler afterwards to then fold them over here and press them down. So I've got the bit of dimension here, and I left this to dry. Make sure there's no gaps in between here because we don't want any gaps. So my brain tells me this should actually slide on here nicely now, and it does. Obviously it pops open now because we need to put the heart over the top. So I just need to make sure, and I'm going to mark on the back with a pencil where I've got that score line or that middle. So I'm putting it down straight, yeah, 1 dot facing that point there and 1 dot facing this here, and then this should go on nicely. Try not to have too much glue, I don't want anything to ooze out. So again, watching this, and I can't remember whether I said it in the bit that has been deleted. I chose this circle die because it's nicely hidden by the size of this heart. So using my eraser to take the pencil marks out, and then I'm leaving that to dry for a moment before I show you how it slides on again, and I will quickly decorate my envelope with a leftover heart, and I think then the card is finished. Okay, my piece has dried, so I'm attempting again to slide it on. So it should slide on when I place this down. Maybe turn it this way around. Make sure it's there. It's a bit tricky to find the right gap, but there we go. Isn't that lovely? I'm glad I persisted. So it keeps the card shut. I might not put a little post-it note there or whatever, that the recipients have to slide it off then to open up the card. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I hope you like this little card idea, and if you do, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video.